everyone, it's Lisa with Holiday Deals and More. Just thought I'd bring you along today as we make fresh pumpkin puree and roasted pumpkin seeds. Hope you enjoy the video. First, you're going to want to make sure to wash your pumpkins thoroughly, dry them off a bit so they're not so slippery. Grab a really good sharp knife and a cutting board. The easiest way we found is to cut them in half. They can be hard to cut in half. The knife can get stuck sometimes. Next, we're going to want to scrape out the insides of the pumpkin. Our last visit to Busch Gardens in Tampa, I received this pumpkin scraper as a free item with my yearly pass. Do your best to scrape out all the fibrous strands. They're very stringy, very sticky. We just scrape it all into one bowl. It can be separated later. These are just small baking pumpkins. Usually we just grab them from Walmart or Publix, whatever your local grocery store is. They're probably all on sale now. But the same process does work with a regular carving pumpkin, a big jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. You can do the same thing. Surprisingly enough, the small pumpkins yield just as many seeds as the larger pumpkins. So if you're simply doing it for roasted pumpkin seeds, you can save a few dollars and just buy the baking pumpkins. After you rinse your pumpkins, you can go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. We did about 4 pumpkins here, so I used my large sheet pan. If possible, you can put them cut side down. Just continue scraping until you get most of the strands. You'll start getting into the actual flesh of the pumpkin if you scrape too much. So even if you leave a few stringy strands behind, it'll still turn out fine. It's all going to be blended up later. I wasn't sure how this pumpkin scraper was going to work out. It actually worked out really good. It worked out better than some of the store-bought ones we've had before. If you can find anything similar to this, it'll save your arm a lot of work. It does get tiring after a while if you do too many. You can scrape out the pumpkins with a regular spoon, but if you can find one like this, it made it a lot easier to scrape out. You see the longer teeth on it. It was easy to scoop out all the strands and the pumpkin seeds together in one big scoop, where the finer side is better for scraping and getting out the little strands. Once you get everything scraped out, grab a second bowl that is about half filled with plain water. Tap water's fine. And then just start separating your seeds from the pulpy insides. I find it's easiest just to grab a chunk of the seeds and almost pinch them between your fingers, and they'll come off the strands quite easily. After a while, your hands will start to get a little sticky. You can just rinse them in the bowl of water. As you're separating the seeds, if you come across any that are flat and they just feel like there's nothing on the inside, you can just discard them. They won't roast very well. Once you've separated all the seeds, take them to the sink. You're going to want to rinse them very well using a strainer or a colander. Swirl them around quite a bit. You're trying to rinse off the pulp and the fibrous strands that were left behind. Once you've rinsed the seeds very well, try to shake off the excess water while they're still in the colander. Then on a large sheet pan, I lay out a couple layers of paper towels. Then spread the seeds out evenly on top of the paper towels and allow them to dry for a little bit, soaking up a lot of the excess water. Once the pumpkins are all scraped out and your oven is preheated to 350, pour just about a quarter cup of water onto your sheet pan. That helps with the steaming process. Then you can place your sheet pan into the oven and roast the pumpkins for 50 minutes to about an hour. When they're fork tender, they're done. Once you've removed the pumpkins from the oven, you can let them cool slightly or use a hot pad or washcloth like I did here so that you're able to handle them easier. Then take each pumpkin half and start scraping out the pulp, separating the pulp from the skin. Scrape out as much as you can, don't let any of it go to waste. Then using a blender or a food processor, put a few large scoops into it, add a tiny bit of water just to help the process, and start to blend it until it becomes as smooth as baby food. You're going to want to remove the lid a couple of times just to check the consistency, just to make sure that there's no large chunks left behind. If needed, you can continue to add water, maybe just by a tablespoonful at a time. That's not quite done. I think we're going to blend it one more time. This is the consistency you should be looking for. Empty the puree into a separate bowl, and then you can start the process again. Next, we need to strain the pumpkin puree. You'll need either a flour sack or a thin towel. Put a couple of scoops of pumpkin puree into the cloth. We need to wring out the excess liquid. Now start to squeeze it and twist the cloth. We're trying to strain out the excess liquid. You can squeeze it into a bowl or just do it over your sink. Once you've squeezed out most of the liquid, you'll notice that the actual puree is starting to squeeze through the cloth. That's a good sign that it's done. That's the sign you're looking for. You can put that bit of puree into a separate bowl and get a couple of fresh scoops of the puree and start the process again. Each small baking pumpkin yields about 1 cup of pumpkin puree. Be sure to store the fresh pumpkin puree in airtight containers. We like to store them in these little containers. They're approximately 8 ounces each. If we can find a link for it, I'll place it below in the description box. It should last up to about a week in the refrigerator. You can also store the pumpkin puree in the freezer in an airtight container for up to 3 months. You can lower the temperature to 300 degrees and prepare your pumpkin seeds. They should be dry enough now. Remove the paper towels and place the pumpkin seeds directly on the baking sheet. Spread them out as evenly as possible. For every 2 cups of pumpkin seeds, I use about a tablespoon of butter and a teaspoon of salt. Just put little pats of butter on top of the pumpkin seeds. Then sprinkle with your salt. The pumpkin seeds will roast for approximately 45 to 50 minutes total. Be sure to stir your pumpkin seeds about every 15 minutes. Spread them out evenly before placing them into the oven again. You know they're done when they're a deep golden brown. When they first come out of the oven, they might look wet and still shiny from the butter. Eventually it will absorb. Just make sure before you store them that they are cooled completely. The pumpkin seeds don't usually last that long in our house, but they should last for up to at least a week in an airtight container.